guess we're playing for keeps now. I guess the kidding around is pretty much over, huh?
Good morning, Bucknutter. It is Thursday, January 28th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined, as always, on Thursdays by Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. So this is a big and important visit because this is Steve's last appearance before National Signing Day, February 3rd, which is this coming Wednesday. All right, Steve, you were the first to break the news on Damar Hamlin. I admit, I thought the ship had sailed. And it sounds like Cap might be changing and he could be pulling into a different port, if I can run that metaphor out a little bit. Give us the latest on Damar Hamlin.
Well, right now I think Ohio State leads for Damar Hamlin after talking to two very knowledgeable sources of Damar's recruitment yesterday morning. But the only reason why I haven't flipped my crystal ball is the same reason why when Ohio State led for Corley at times down the stretches. I just don't want to flip-flop. I try and stay with the pulse if I know the pulse is going to, not change at least for a little bit. But I think when it gets down to crunch time and these tough decisions and you're talking to people that know about the kid's recruitment, you can get on the roller coaster a little bit as well. And I don't mean that in a bad way. These young men are making tough decisions. And they like the finalists a lot, each of them. And, in Michigan State's case for Corley, they were able to eke that one out. And with Damar Hamlin, he's going to Pitt this weekend, and I want to see how that visit goes before I make my final prediction on what he's going to do. And I'll make my final prediction Sunday. But going into today, I think Ohio State leads. Pitt's going in home Thursday. Ohio State's going in home after that, so Ohio State's going to get the last in-home. And from what I understand, at least that's what I was told yesterday, Ohio State's going to get the last in-home with Damar Hamlin, and then he'll take his official visit to Pitt this weekend, and the Panthers will try and close him. I feel like my original crystal ball pick for Damar was Ohio State, and I've always said it's Ohio State or Pitt. I've mentioned Penn State and Notre Dame as other contenders, but for me, it's always been a two-team battle. And that's what it remains to be down the stretch. Ohio State had a really strong official visit with Damar earlier this month. And no question in my mind, Damar really gels with the class that Ohio State has in the boat. And I think his parents are good with Ohio State. And so we'll see what happens at Pitt this weekend. I know his parents were good with Pitt as well. So it'll be a pivotal visit. And then, Damar will think things over and announce his decision on Monday, I believe.
Has something changed with Hamlin in terms of his recruitment, or has it just been something where he just kept it more close to the vest down the stretch?
Well, I think one of the major developments, and I think Pitt had a lot of local momentum in the fall, and then that's kind of evaporated. Miles Sanders. A lot of people in Pittsburgh thought he was going to flip to Pitt, and he ended up staying solid with Penn State. And then Kaliki Hudson, a lot of folks thought he was going to end up at Pitt. He committed to Michigan yesterday. And with that, it's easier for Damar to leave. You know what I'm saying? Where if all the big-time prospects in the area stay, which would include Paris Ford, who's already committed in 2017, it's easier to be part of that movement. And that movement didn't end up coming together the way Pitt wanted it to. That doesn't mean they won't get Damar Hamlin. I just think that played part in the fact that, in talking to sources, a lot of the big-time players in Pittsburgh this cycle going elsewhere makes it easier for Damar to go elsewhere. Where if those guys were already in the boat for Pitt or still huge Pitt leans, it's not as easy, it's not as easy for Damar to say, hey, I'm out of here, guys. Best of luck to you at Pitt, but I'm going to be a Buckeye.
Another defensive back obviously has been in the news a lot recently. Yesterday he got the very interesting 3 for visit from three of the Midwest's most recognizable teams in Ohio State, Michigan, and Notre Dame. Jordan Fuller, the defensive back out of New Jersey, was snowed in because of New Jersey at Michigan over the weekend. Your vibe has been Ohio State. Do you still feel the same way now with signing Nate Beckoning and all his really visits and in-homes done?
Checking in late last night, I still have no reason to change my forecast right now for Ohio State for Jordan Fuller. He's going to take the next 4 days to really discuss this with his family. I still think it's close. I traded some messages with Jordan last night after the in-homes. He was upset that he didn't get pictures with the coaches. In hindsight, I said, hey, you had three of the most recognizable household names in college football in your household yesterday. And, he laughed about that. And it's a challenging decision for him because he's such a, not only is he a versatile player, but he's just a versatile guy. He can fit into a lot of different environments, and it's a smooth transition for him. He's a fit in all those locker rooms, and all those locker rooms have a different pulse to them, if you know what I mean. So it's a particularly tough decision for Jordan. And but I still think that Ohio State, with their track record on the field, with their track record in developing the position he wants to play, with the type of body type that Jordan is, in addition to Mick Marotti, and then just Coach Combs and Coach Meyer and the staff, just how well they've recruited him, I haven't heard any reason to change my crystal ball. So I think Michigan's the biggest threat to Ohio State still. Obviously I could see him picking Notre Dame, but I think they're third. So I'm still riding with the Buckeyes. He's going to spend the next 4 days thinking about it. I think he wants to have his decision ironed out by Sunday so he can sleep on it and then announce on Monday.
I'm going to send Jordan Fuller a few mock drafts I've been looking at. Eli Apple's up to his number 9 in some of these drafts. So 6'1" corners from New Jersey. It's an Ohio State specialty, at least a current flavor of the month. So that will have them almost full. Malik Harrison, the local, also still needs to make his college decision. Most people think he's going to be a Buckeye. I think there's a prevailing amount of wisdom that believes it was Harrison or Sam Bruce who reaffirmed his commitment to Miami. Do you see it the same way?
Well, I just think if Malik Harrison was going elsewhere, he would have visited other schools after that Ohio State visit. So I feel good about him being a Buckeye for no other reason than that. But then you add in that he's from Columbus. I mean, how many guys does Ohio State lose on that are from Columbus? Malik's a really good player. Good size, a lot of upside there. Physical kid, could play a lot of different positions. Just a guy you want in your program, and I think he'll be in Ohio State's program. I do think Ohio State would have got Sam Bruce if they would have pushed for him. So I think that Ohio State controlled the ball in the Sam Bruce recruitment, and tough decisions are made late in the process. And my opinion is that, tight spots were tight, and Malik Harrison has one.
Since this is going to be your last appearance before signing day, just looking at Ohio State's class, and it's a great class, and we've talked about it. Good gracious, if you add up all the time you've been on the show here, hours and hours and hours just on air. What jumps out to you? What are you going to remember about this class? If you were an Ohio State fan, what would you say to them about the group they're getting?
Well, two things immediately jump out. First, Ohio State may have the best skill player class in America when you look at Demario McCall, Benjamin Victor, Austin Mack, and then you look at the combination of Jake Hossman, my man Luke Farrell. Everyone knows how much I like Luke Farrell by now if you tune in every Thursday. And then Kier Hawkins. So that, the amount of speed, playmaking ability, just big-time playmakers in the open field. That might be the best skill player class in the country. Dwayne Haskins, your quarterback recruit, there's no question mark on the way that young man throws the football. He is the most natural thrower of the football in this recruiting class. And then you look at the two edge guys, Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bosa. You know, that's a special group with those two. And then Malik Barrow, who was having a terrific season early in the year. I left out Antonio Williams in that skill player group. That's how many guys there are. You can forget when you talk about Ohio State's recruiting class. You better pull it up. You might forget a name because there's so many damn names. You know, and the offensive line, Michael Jordan and Tyler Gerald, you know, they're not ranked number one at their position coming in at Ohio State, but that's one of the finest offensive tackles and one of the finest offensive guards in the country, and they're enrolled early and getting to work right away. So a lot of things to point to in this class. They're going to try and close the secondary strong to go with what they already have in the fold. I could have made a comment about everybody in every position group. There's not a weak part of the class, but when you have the number 2 class in America, according to 24/7 Sports, it's generally going to be balanced across the board. The only thing that, you know, LSU's got the number 1 class in the country right now, but they're running into the same issue that haunts their program. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback committer right now. They don't have a guy within the program where you can point to with confidence and say, that young man's going to lead us to a championship right now. So that's the big difference. Ohio State has the number 2 class, but I'd take the Ohio State class for the pure reason that they have a signal caller in it, and LSU doesn't.
No, I agree with you. It's an unbelievable group. It's just amazing how things then, besides the quarterback, things jumped out in twos with the defensive ends, kind of the running back combination, the fire and ice with Williams and McCall, the receivers.
McCall's so good.
It's incredible. And then if you do finish with 2 bookend corners here, 2 kind of 6'1" prototypes, like you said, you could make an argument it's the number 1 class. We thank Steve for all he's done getting us ready for the class of 2016. He'll be back in a week, and we will, at that point in time, look back on what had happened the day before. It'll be the day after National Signing Day, and we may even take a peek at 2017. So keep it locked in, Bucknutters.